1. All right, we're officially here. I'm going to make sure that we're here. We're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 1 of our 3-day workshop of the Crystalline Architect, how to start living and designing your life from your own pillars, your own crystalline architect. So give me just a moment. We're going to make sure that when her, okay, yay, we're live. We're in here. Let's do this. All right. When you jump on, say hello. I would love to know that you're here. I'm streaming through Zoom, but I'll be watching on my phone for all comments so I don't miss anything from you guys. And then I'm also a really incredibly visual person. So I put together like a presentation so you don't just have to listen to my voice. You get to actually engage and look at just the presentation I put together to help you better understand and anchor in your own crystalline architect and be designing your own pillars through this. So if you're here, say hello. If you're watching the replay, you can say #replay or hello, I'm here, I'm catching up. And let's get started. So for those of you that are new here, I have so many new faces. I am so excited to have you here. My name is Avery Lane. I am an ascension mentor, a soul activator, and global thought leader. Basically meaning that I help you connect with the deepest, truest versions of you, teach you and lead you into healing through your displaced aspects of self, your unregulated aspects, and becoming whole together so that you can lead your life from the place of soul, your divine channel, and of course, your spiritual and soul gifts. All right, so I'm going to share my screen so that you can have a full understanding of what we're going to be going over today. We are going to be diving in to the 3 pillars inside of the crystalline architect. And when I created this workshop, it was for just a basic recap for myself and for those that are on their ascension journey. I was deep into a meditation and I sat there and I was kind of reflecting on where I was in my ascension and spiritual awakening and soul growth journey to where I am today, which is teaching and leading others into becoming their own light leaders, their own healers, and their own spiritual activists, right? And so as I was reflecting back, I realized through every single level, layer, and twist and turn in my own ascension, spiritual awakening, and soul growth journey that I had these pillars that I always came back to. And these pillars all were in this encapsulating compass of how I choose to move and lead myself in my life, in my community, in my ascension journey, and in my true gifts. And so all of this came through a coded message. And if you know me, you know that I'm a clear channel. All of my clairs are open, and I'm going to talk to you about all of my gifts and abilities so you can connect deeper and understand who it is I really am, what it is I really do, and how I got to where I am today. So this first workshop will be the first pillar of my crystalline architect that came through. So as you can see on this side over here where my mouse is pointing, this was the light code that came through. So when I was in this meditation and I was reflecting on my journey thus far, this beautiful light code came through. And in this light code at the very top, you can't see it, you can't read it, but everything I do is through love, unity, harmony, and just moving myself through life from this space of love, from this 5D version of me that gets to ripple out through the world around me. In this, I realized that my first pillar was living my life through a crystalline architect of the Christ consciousness. And I'm going to talk to you about what this means today. That's what the bulk of what we're doing today is learning what Christ consciousness is versus what Christianity and religious and traditional beliefs are, so that you can kind of have a better understanding. I know at first when I was moving through this Christ consciousness, I was very triggered. I was very breathless of, I don't know if I want to lean into this, if I want to dive into this. This feels very traumatizing and triggering. But as I move through this, I realize it has actually nothing to do with religious and for traditional foundational beliefs, and everything to do with my own connection to source, creator, God, universe. The second pillar that we'll be going over, which is tomorrow, is the unlocking just the codes of compassion. Here, I'll go to the next slide so you can kind of see, is unlocking this code of compassion. And when we have these compassion keys that come in, they are catalysts for change, which we'll go over again tomorrow. So I will tell you right now, I love to say this, that if you think that compassion is for these weak and meek people that just want to forgive and be a doormat, you are in for a treat, because compassion is actually one of the hardest, most challenging things to practice inside of our practice as we move through becoming a higher version of ourselves, becoming more aligned with unity, oneness, and the love version of us, which we'll dive into tomorrow. And then the last pillar that I have built and sustained my foundation on is this pillar of the constructs of the ego identity and integrating this ego. For the longest time, maybe even still, you've had this belief or this idea that ego is outside of us and that ego is bad, and ego is, just all these different beliefs of why we've been keeping ego separate and how that's actually hurt us versus supported us. So when we can reconstruct our relationship and idea of our ego, because we each have one as human beings, when we can accept our ego and begin to heal and integrate our ego, it actually gets to support us in where we want to go and in how we want to grow. So we're going to, on the third day, teach you how to drop the misconceptions that ego is bad or it's against us, and learn how to identify that the ego aspects of ourselves are just here to help us build a loving and healthy and compassionate relationship with ourselves, the world around us, and help us reach and achieve each and every level of our goals, our dreams, our desires, and our ascension. So these three pillars, as I've noted, they have stood the test of time in mastering my own ascension, as well as supporting others who have implemented them in their journey. These pillars serve as a foundational solidarity of my approach towards a higher 5D and beyond consciousness lifestyle, and have proven to work powerfully for my clients, again, who have chosen to use them. When I come back through anything that I'm going through in life, trials, tribulations, whether it is endings or beginnings, or just moving through that sticky middle part of hasn't quite begun yet, but I've definitely really reached an ending or dissolving of something in my life, I come back to these pillars, and these pillars have helped me move so graciously through each and every step of my life journey, my soul journey, my spiritual journey, my self journey, every single aspect of my journey. These pillars have been just my very strong foundation. And my goal here inside of this workshop is just to teach you and provide you with new ways to implement and create your own crystalline architect. After all, you are the designer of your life. No one else, no one else besides you are the only one that can say how you want to live and choose the way that you want to live and experience and receive the world around you. So let's begin to build or create or redesign your own crystalline pillars so that you can truly be the architect of your life and how you move through the world. Let's get started. So I wanted to share a little bit with you about my journey, and I'm just going to say hello to those who have jumped on. I see Brianna's here, and Sierra's here, and Yervi's here. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm so happy to have you here. So, I want to talk a little bit about my journey because I don't share or haven't shared the depths of, my life and how I've gotten to where I am today. For the longest time, I believe that, the past is the past and it's this little rear view mirror that you're looking back in and you're not going that way. But I also think that it's incredibly important to really highlight the areas of the past that have been such catalysts for change and growth and have really just been these monumental moments that have always been there to help me solidify, yes, you are on the right path. You are following your soul. You know exactly what it is that you're talking about, what you've been through and what you've experienced. I think a lot of times we kind of minimize our experiences and we realize that in these experiences that we've had, we kind of realize, sorry, I just noticed my icon's really small up in the upper corner. So I'll stop sharing my screen eventually. But we minimize and then we become imposters of our own life experience when in reality, we have been prepared for this. Our soul knows exactly what it is, what we need, and what we're moving through at different times in our lives. And it kind of, we don't give our soul enough credit for the leadership that it has always had inside of our life. So I'll stop sharing my screen so you can hear about my story. Awesome. All right. So starting out in life, I was raised Catholic. And inside of this, I think, my creator, before I came into the physical body, knew that Catholicism was a good path for me to start living out my intuitive nudges. Now, I'm not going to sit here and condemn beliefs and religions and traditions, but I will say that being Catholic, I was actually very used to the term archangels or saints, right? And so I kind of had this advantage of working with archangels at a very, very young age of, Saint Michael or Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Raphael, and working with these archangels in my life to support me. However, that's 1% of the whole Catholic belief system, right? And I'm sure if you were raised in some denomination, you also know there are 1%, and then the rest felt really limited or suppressed. And my soul knew that there was so much more to explore. So as I was going through life, I was beginning to question things at a very young age of, this can't be all there is. This isn't all there is. These rule books, these guidelines, this, just book of limitations can't be all there is in life. And I just had this soul nudge, though at, 8, 9, 10 years old, I didn't realize it was a soul nudge. I just had these taboo thoughts and feelings that there was so much more to life and love and spirituality than what we were being taught. So at 11 years old, in a very interesting way, I was introduced to hands-on healing. I call it taboo because at that time, it just was not widely accepted or even minimally accepted by my environment and my community. And so I was taught at 11 years old just hands-on healing and how to start feeling and healing through energy. And I knew I had these natural intuitive abilities and mediumship abilities that were very present in my life, but never talked about, right? We don't talk about these at a young age. We think that they're imagination. We kind of start suppressing them, which is normal in our 3D world, is just to suppress anything that we cannot hear, see, or feel, even though in the very spiritual realm, in the etheric realm, you can very much hear, see, and feel these things. It's very much real. So going from having these natural abilities to starting to perform hands-on healing at 11 years old, I was, again, very young and began to kind of shut down these gifts and abilities as they weren't validated externally. So I began to shut these down, these pathways of my abilities and soul gifts out of confusion and fear and external influences. And so from 11 to 19, I walked a very 3D path. I got into medicine. I worked in the emergency medical field. So I was a fire paramedic, and I was very hands-on in a very traumatic environment, dealing with a lot of different people, a lot of different walks in life, but also realizing these people are very wounded, right? So a lot of the calls that we would respond to be the same over and over again, same circumstances, same events, different situations, but very wounded in that aspect of, there is another side out there of humanity, and they were not the ones that were feeding or fulfilling my soul. But I went from hands-on healing to, I guess I still was hands-on healing, just in a very different way, in a very physical 3D way. So working my way from there into working in a regional hospital as a nurse. I was in this medical field. I was this natural healer, caregiver with these healing abilities, but in a very 3D world that felt completely unaligned to me, realizing this is leading me to some massive burnout and not what I want to experience any longer. So I'm getting through my story. I promise I won't keep it much longer. But in 2016, I had a very life-changing event. I was driving home from a nursing shift from about a town that was an hour away from me. It was raining, and it was very wet, and you couldn't see in front of you. And I saw these brake lights in front of me. So I put on my brake lights, and next thing I know, I was hydroplaning and my car was spinning 360. All I could think was, it wasn't even about, am I going to die or if I'm going to die? It was nothing about that. It was more of, oh my gosh, my ex is going to kill me because I'm going to ruin his car. And I felt these hands, and I'm not kidding you when I say I felt these hands or these wings pick my car up and lift me. And I felt like I was in midair. And I haven't shared this with a lot of people because, again, it's a taboo subject, right? Back in 2016 when I had no idea. So felt these hands and these angel wings pick me up and turn my car, and it flipped. My car flipped upside down, but where my head should have landed, my back landed into a huge boulder. So I knew in that moment, again, that I needed to lean in to the gifts and the abilities that I had back when I was 11 years old, and lean into the fact that there's so much more than what we can see, feel, or hear in the physical world. This led me to where I am today in a very weird, unique path, as soul does. Soul leads you through these really unique paths, allowing your human self to kind of explore life and experience reality, to where I am today, which is teaching other souls how to open up to themselves first and foremost, their soul gifts, reach and access higher levels of consciousness to live and experience life from, and finding guidance in their own clear channels from the place of empowered confidence and self-leadership. So let's get into setting up your crystalline pillars so that you can have this empowered confidence no matter what you're going through, whether it be a massive life event, just some endings and beginnings, and that you know exactly how it is that you're supported from within. You're supported from your team, your energy, your guides, your angels, whatever it may be. This is your crystalline design to your own architectural kingdom from within. So let's move on to the next slide, and I'll share my screen again because, like I said, I'm a really intense visual person, and I'm sure you are too if you're in this circle here, so that you can kind of see what we're going to be sharing. I'm so glad that this is relatable to some of you and that you kind of have the same type of experiences. All right, so we have the crystalline Christ consciousness, and I want to share with you today what this means and how you can begin to move through and set up your own type of relationship or connection to God, source, creator. So first and foremost, What is your current understanding, feeling, or belief around Christ and Christ consciousness? Are you triggered by this, or are you curious by this? I'm really curious to see where you're at right now. Like I said, when I first dove back into having a relationship with God's source creator, I was very traumatized. I was very triggered. I was very like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to be put into structure and, just beliefs that don't completely align with me. And what does this even mean? Until I realized there's so much more than just this book of rules or limitations. So I do want to mention that I am not trying to lead anyone into anything here. I will not be convincing you or lecturing you. I have a lot of students that come from various backgrounds and religious foundations and traditional beliefs. I have actually a lot of students that come from Hindu and Muslim and just different beliefs. I have a ton that come from agnostic and some, atheist foundational beliefs. And that's completely okay because that is where they were taught and raised and developed. So what I want to share with you today is that this is not a lecture on what you should or shouldn't believe, that this is a space where everyone is welcome. All foundational beliefs have a sound space to be explored. And today I'm simply just sharing with you my sound belief that I want to just explore with you so that I give you a different perspective and a different idea and feeling. So when we share, I want to just provide you a little bit of background and insight. Like I said, I have a lot of students that come from a lot of different beliefs that Christianity is very, very new to them. It's not even a thing that they have a big idea about or understanding about. So I want to present this from a space of just a quick overview, not getting deep into verses or Bibles or books of traditions, but I just want to talk about healing that relationship that we've created with any religion that we've been in, to building a newfound relationship with the consciousness of Christ in this version and the teachings that align with our 5D lifestyle. I'm getting some feedback here, and I love this. Used to get very triggered until I actually felt and had an understanding that the frequency of Christ and everything that I started to rekindle my relationship with Christ and God, and most importantly, within myself. Yes, absolutely. So let's just do a quick overview of what the understanding and just kind of core traditional foundational beliefs that Christianity has. There are a ton of denominations underneath it, tons and tons and tons of different segments from it. But basically, there's a belief that God is love and love God. There's a belief of having compassion, justice, mercy, and tolerance. There is a belief that it's often through political activism, and to love your neighbor as you love yourself, to forgive others who have wronged you, to love your enemies, ask God for forgiveness of your sins. Jesus is the Messiah and was given authority to forgive others, and repentance of sins is essential. So some of these words here may trigger some of you, and I apologize. I don't mean to do that. I just want to show you kind of the core beliefs behind a religious belief and the consciousness of Christ. So there are some shared beliefs here, but when we take out the man-made rule limiting versions of Christianity and bring in the consciousness, right? The higher realm of conscious and understanding of what Christ came here to do, how he came here to shine, and what he came here to provide people with. There are a lot of shared values. So just as God is compassionate and empathetic, understanding, and loving with us, we must strive to make a conscious choice to be that same way with and towards everyone, and within and towards ourselves. There's no distinction of separation between you and others, because Christ consciousness, we are all one. Unity, we are all one. And when we can start to understand that belief, we realize that Christ consciousness is a type of spiritual awareness. It's not a type of religion. that this is on all same levels of spirituality as Jesus is. There is nothing to do with religion and everything to do with spirituality. Discovering our own interconnected relationship with God, creator, source, without being told how or what or where that should look like. And I said where, so where that should look like. We can absolutely connect and praise and just have a beautiful, intertwining, loving relationship with our creator, no matter where we are in the world. So, with a conscious intention to practicing love, acceptance, compassion, and eventually becoming one with all that exists, this is the foundational base of what Christ Crystalline Consciousness is. And so I use the word crystalline, and I want to define what this means a little bit for you guys. Crystalline is a memory, it's a program, it's a device that we can access at any time. It's a certain field that we can access at any time to plug into this crystalline grid and receive the memory, the codes, the downloads, the connections with this grid. So we are accessing inside of this workshop the Christ Crystalline Consciousness. So, what does that mean to me? So, to myself, what I want to share is that what this means to me, how this relationship is completely different than the one that I've had before, is it's not limited to a book rewritten by man to serve their own agendas, a denomination, or an individual's blueprint for existence. What this means to me is that this is a space and a connection with the consciousness of Christ that is free of judgment, shame, and disgrace. It's a limitless relationship with Jesus and God and divinity. It's heart-centered, love-based, and compassion-filled. It's acceptance for self and others, and endless grace and gratitude, which, of course, we know are the two vibrational frequencies that we need to attract and receive and experience what it is that we want to experience in life. So, what I want you to realize and what I want to introduce you to is I want you to meet the Ascended Master of Christ. And what I mean by this is that there are many ascended masters through many different religious, traditional, and foundational beliefs, right? Each foundational belief has their own ascended master, has their own light leader that has come down to lead and teach and show us humanity the way that it means in different ways that we can ascend and access higher levels of ourselves, our collective, and basically just ascend into the soul version of us. So what Christianity has done, or basically Christ has done, is come down as an ascended master. And he has spread his word and his messages and his teachings and his love and his leadership through the base of Christianity. So I want to talk about Christ from an ascended master standpoint. When we talk about Christ, and I love this visual because you can see right here, he has this massive heart opening. He has come down to teach us how to access and work from and lead our life from the heart-centered version of us. This fourth density, fifth dimensional heart-centered teachings. Fourth density, being our fourth heart chakra, and fifth dimensional being so much greater than our 3D everyday world. The ascended master of Christ has healing abilities, and we all know this. So these hand-on healing that we perform and receive as beautiful healers, practitioners of magic, and spiritual beings of just leading with our light and healing, we are learning that he has been a leader and a teacher in this. The hands-on healing abilities and miracle maker, like what they call him, he has the ability to make miracles happen and manifest just like we do. So when we follow the teachings of the Ascended Master, we realize it is all heart-centered. It is all for humanity. It's these healing abilities, these hands-on healing abilities, these energetic healing abilities. He is a teacher and light leader of unity, acceptance, and love. This is what he came down here to lead humanity and show us how to start leading ourselves and our collective from unity, acceptance, and love. The foundational understanding of unconditional love, understanding for compassion and the human experience, and forgiveness for humanity from a place of detachment. These are all the things that the ascended master Christ has come down to teach us. And lastly, the acceptance of what is, who is, and just because it just is, right? So I want to talk about the last one here, the acceptance of what is, who is, and just is. This totally releases us from the shackles of we need to be a certain way, we need to act a certain way. We can only, ascend or access higher levels of consciousness. We can only experience what heaven on earth feels like, or even heaven feels like if we're a certain way, if we meet these boxes, if we match, all up and align all the things, when that's not the truth. The truth is we are already whole and pure and beautiful beings that get to access heaven on earth right now. So my philosophy, if you're new here, I just want to share with you really quickly. I have the embodied path philosophy. This is my philosophy where as we heal and integrate these aspects of ourselves that have been just disconnected from us, we become whole. And as we experience becoming whole, we get to experience life as heaven on earth from the state of bliss and receival and compassion and love. This is truly what heaven on earth means. It's this 5D version of us that gets to walk through life just a little differently. And so I want to talk about this acceptance of what is, who is, and it just is. When we talk about becoming this 5D higher version of us, we're not shaming, we're not condemning, we're not trying to fit, compete, compare into a certain box. We get to come from a place of pure acceptance of who we are, what the world around us looks like, and it is just because it is, and accepting ourselves and others for wherever we are at on our evolutionary path. Right. So when we take out the pressures and the condemnation and just having to fit into a certain box, we release all judgment, all fear, and all suffering because we no longer are trying to seek outside of ourselves for what we truly already have within that is whole and healed. And so with that said, we'll move on. We're almost done. So with that said, I want to just lead you into how you can start building this crystalline pillar for yourself. If this is something you're interested in, the ways that you're probably already operating in a 5D and beyond space and not knowing it. And these ways are moving out, choosing to love one another at whatever stage we're at in our own personal evolution. This one can be really tough because we want the best for each other. We want to tell each other, if you would just wake up, if I could just shake you and wake you up and make you realize that you are so much more. We take this pressure off and we realize that we get to choose to love and accept that person for wherever they are at on their spiritual evolution, their personal evolution, their self-development and discovery, and knowing that wherever you are is totally okay to be there. So if you're already accepting and loving one another for whatever stage they're at on their own personal evolution, you are actively living out a 5D and beyond lifestyle. Accepting someone for who they are, just as they are, because I am. So the teachings of God and source and creator is I am just who I am. And that is good. That is enough. I am who I am. If you are currently loving unconditionally without condition, having compassion and acceptance for individuals on their own life journey and yourself, if you're experiencing more inner peace and decision making, and you easily trust and surrender to the greater power than the one you're currently experiencing, you are living a 5D and beyond lifestyle. Congratulations. It's not that hard. It's actually really easy and accessible to each and every individual that chooses to want more, to love, accept, and just begin to heal unconditionally. So, best part is building your own. Sorry, don't know why my thing is like going slow. All right. Start is beginning to build out your own pillar. So here's how you can begin to build out that pillar and begin to implement Christ consciousness in your own lifestyle. So I have 6 bullet points for you here. 1, the very first way you can begin to deepen your practice and solidify your pillar through this Christ consciousness pillar is practice the forgiveness of self and others. I know it's a little harder than just saying you're going to do it. You have to actually begin to practice forgiveness for yourself and others. Stop being so hard on yourselves and forgive that version of you, forgive that version of them that made that choice in that moment of their own evolution. Number 2, of how you can begin to solidify and deepen this pillar is acceptance versus judgment. So if there's something that sets you off, or you maybe already just kind of consciously, unconsciously, like look at the world around you and judge people, come from a different place, come from a place of acceptance. Have some curiosity around what acceptance would feel like, what it would do, and how the world around you would feel a little differently if you were accepting versus judging, versus judgment being your first normal instinct. And then again, through the compassion versus comparison, which we'll dive into a lot deeper tomorrow in this compassion aspect. But having compassion versus comparison and loving without condition. When we love without condition, this can kind of be a little more difficult for us if we're first starting out, because why give love if we're not going to receive it? Why do this if we're not going to get something from it? But try loving without condition. These are the ways that you can begin to solidify and deepen this pillar inside of your own architectural design. So last 2 is self-healing, deepening your connection to the healed version of you and creating a new supportive relationship with your God, your source, your creator, and whatever that means to you. I am so grateful to be here with you today and just teach you and show you the insights of my pillars, how I've moved through life, how I've navigated through each and every level, twist, turn, bend of my own ascension journey. It's not easy. I can tell you that right now. I know it's not easy, but it doesn't have to be filled with suffering. It doesn't have to be filled with massive confusion. Yes, there's some confusion as we're moving through things in life, but what it gets to be filled with is you having a really strong internal foundation and kingdom from within, right? Building your own architect, your own blueprint of how you want to move through life. And when you have this set up, you are so internally empowered and so internally prepared that no matter what faces you, what storms come your way, you got this. You really do. So wherever you're at in life right now, whether you're going through a storm or you just went through one, or you just want to set up these these pillars for yourself, you get to be the architect of your own crystalline grid. So I am so grateful for you to join me today. If you have any questions at all, we can absolutely go deeper on this subject, on this pillar. Let me know. Reach out to me. I am absolutely here for you. If you want to leave a comment, you are more than welcome to do so. I will be monitoring them as well. And let's just connect deeper on building your own crystalline architect so that we can step into that version of you now, continue to lead you and provide you with what it is that you need internally so you're not seeking externally. I will see you tomorrow, same time, same place, for the topic of the powerful catalyst of compassion, the catalyst for change. Compassion will be a fun one. It'll probably be a gut checker of where in life and at what level of capacity is your compassion at, and how can we begin to reprogram that compassion for you to feel even deeper into it, especially towards yourself as you are ascending and navigating and working through different experiences inside of your ascension journey. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for the compassion codes, the catalyst for change, pillar 2 of our workshop. I'll see you soon. Have an amazing rest of your day.